Hello, hello. Here's Augie coming to you again from the Paranormal World Show under the umbrella of Broadcast Team Alpha. My name is Augie, and I'm the host tonight. And we're going to be talking about something really interesting in regard to our moon. And now we're coming to you from 44 different platforms around the world, and one of them is the Conscious Awakening Network. We really need to go and have a look at that. We got about 50 or so shows over there that covers just about every subject that we all need to and want to know about. So check them out. And before I start talking about the moon, I also want to let you know how you can get a hold of me and Lori, my co-host on the Broadcast Team Alpha Show. You can go to broadcastteamalpha.com and send us a message, and we'll get the email, and we'll get back to you and see what we can do for you. So anyway, if you're watching us on YouTube, that's the place to be, because that's where we are able to monitor the chat room, and we can have a conversation. You can ask questions, and you can participate in the dialogue if you like. So I will first talk a little bit about the moon. What is it? And what is on there? In fact, the moon itself is a mystery, because there is more evidence, scientific evidence, to the fact that it is not there than there is evidence that it is there. Now, that's going to need some qualification. Let's first look at it and say, we know how big Earth is. We know how much gravity it puts out. We know how big the moon is. We know what kind of gravity that puts out. We know how fast the moon is moving around the Earth. And we know the amount of centrifugal force that is created by that circle around the Earth. And if we feed all that into the computer, it doesn't come out. The moon is moving, first of all, it's too big, too close, and moving too fast around Earth to be able to hold the orbit that it has. Now, if it was 2/3 further out away from Earth, it could hold that orbit. Unless, of course, it is much lighter than what it looks and what science think it is. Because maybe it is hollow. If there's a huge cavity inside of the moon, it probably could hold that orbit. And then this orbit is also perfectly circular around Earth. There are astrophysicists that are coming out and saying that that particular orbit of perfect circle around Earth is almost impossible to initiate. All other moons are elliptical around the planet. This one is a perfect circle. That is a little strange, because I read one report from an astrophysicist. He says that is one out of several million in chances that it could happen, because it has to be consciously put there in that orbit. Couldn't happen by accident. And then there is that the moon is 4 400 times smaller than the sun. And it is 1/400th of a distance from the sun. That is why it makes perfect moon eclipses. The moon gets in front of the sun, it covers the sun perfectly. Same size. Coincidence? No, I doubt it. And also all the craters on the moon is of the same distance. None of them are much deeper than the other ones. They're all the same distance for the bigger ones. And also, I think the Russians are a little sharper than we are, unless they are lying less than what we do. Because in 1970, there was two Russian scientists that came out, and there was Mikhail Vasin and Alexander Sherbakov. They came out and wrote in a Russian magazine that's called Sputnik at the time. They said the moon is of extraterrestrial origin and was placed there a long time ago and is not completely natural. There's been people of NASA saying the same thing. Some of the pictures that the Russians came back with show actually a wheel, two wheels hooked onto an axle up there. And another picture that was taken actually by NASA and was kind of leaked from them 30 years ago or so, because I've had it that long. And that was in the Schrodinger crater. There's a building that is formed in a perfect swastika. Now, that is not a coincidence. And if the moon is just like NASA says, a dead rock in the sky, why are there hundreds of classified images from that dead rock in the sky? They've released a lot of those pictures now, but they're smudged out, small sections of it. There's obviously things they are covering up that they do not want us to see. Why do they do that on a dead rock in the sky? Think about that. And there are old documents that I found that showed in the distant past of 12, 13, or 15,000 years ago, there were two moons. One of them was slightly blue, and the other one is white or gray as we have now. Now, here's a document that I think all of you should get your hands on, because it explains a lot of the activities on the moon that is being observed by telescopes and scientists and private individuals with good telescopes. It is a document called Chronological Catalog of Lunar Events. Chronological Catalog on Lunar Events. Actually, that was a classified document because it was issued back in the late 60s. It was classified for 20 years until they had to release it, and now it is available. You can find it on the internet if you Google for it. There's also a NASA scientist that came out after for several years, he reviewed all the activity that has been observed on the moon. And he came out with the statement. The guy's name was Joseph F. Bloomerich. He was a leading engineer at Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. And he studied the moon, and he came out and said, the moon and Earth are and have been visited on a regular basis by extraterrestrials. And that gets interesting because, in fact, you can see some of that. If you get your hands on a fourth generation night vision goggles, you can see UFOs out at night pointed into the sky, and you can see them flying around. There's a lot of them, cigars, triangular ships, and you really should try that because I think you'll have fun with it. You'll have a lot of fun. Let me also talk a little bit about where did the moon come from? When did it come and how? Maybe also why. This is my observation from things that I have researched. And my observation is that the moon, our moon, is a spaceship that is parked in orbit. Now, there's another question in regard to that, and that is that we only see one side of the moon. Why does not our moon rotate like every other moon in our solar system? Well, how can that be? Well, it has to be because there is more mass in the sphere that is away from us than on that side that is towards us. Because the centrifugal force has more effect on the mass than it does on lesser mass. So if there's a huge cavity inside the cavern, it probably is more on this side than that on the other side. So there's more mass on the other side that keeps it away from us as it goes around. And that's my take on it, and I think that is pretty close. And I mentioned that it was 2 moons at one time in the distant past, but we only have one now. Where did that other moon come from? And it was slightly blue in color. There is old papers coming out of India that I found when I did the research on one of my books about spiritual science that said that when there were 2 moons, there were people coming from the moons walking among the people here. So these moons were inhabited. And they also talk about in some of those papers that I saw that the people that in regard to the moon that we have now, there was people that were blue in color. The blue rays came with this moon. So, you know, a lot of people have seen the drawings coming out of India where you have the blue people. Yeah, those were the ones. They came with the moon. And there's more evidence showing that the moon is not there. Think about it. It is too big, too close, going too fast. That does not sound natural. That sounds like it could be a spaceship held in orbit. So give some thought to that. And why is it the moon and Jupiter appear to have been brought into this solar system at the same time? Because there is writing about that date back thousands of years ago, speaking to the fact that the moon showed up here at about the same time as Jupiter showed up here. And they're just objects in the sky that was observed back then. And I also have seen videos on YouTube that there's a wave that on a regular basis with equal time limits between them is passing across the moon. You can see that the edge of the wave going across the moon is kind of folding the space on it a little bit. So you can see a little ripple going across the moon. You have the same thing on Jupiter. There's a wave going across Jupiter also, folding the space as it creates a wrinkle as it goes across. Those are the only two planets that have that. So why? Why only those two? That appears to, in old writing, to have come here at the same time, about 12, 13,000 years ago. Or maybe a little more, could be as much as 15. It is not clear because the calendar has been messed with over the millennia. And it appears that the moon has been flown in and parked from what science is telling us. And Jupiter also has a little strange orbit to it. It is more perfect than the others. So there is something going on here, which I am not really sure of, but I'm encouraged the listeners to go out there and do a little research on this, because Michael Tellinger, he has a video on YouTube that talk about this, and it's very convincing what he talks about. Go look at that one. I think you're going to enjoy it. And then we talk about the time before the moon and the people that wrote about it. I ran across this in the Bhagavad Gita, and also in the other Tibetan writings that speaks of the time before the moon. And in the Veda writings, you can also find some things about that. And Aristotle, he talked about it, a time before the moon. He mentioned that several places. And science say life could not exist unless we have the moon there. What? If there was people here and the moon was not here, we obviously could live here. So the scientists are wrong again. Now, there is a writer, and he is a Greek philosopher. He speaks of the Arcadians being older than the moon. Also, he talks about the Lucians, And that writing comes from about 125 to about 180 years when he write about that. The Lucians was a Greek scientist and a satirist. We say the same thing. And also in the Bible, they talk about in Job, the book of Job, the Lord makes peace in the heights during a time where the moon was in the sky but did not shine. This moon kind of reflects the light, so it is not that it shines, but it reflects light. If the moon was blue, it wouldn't necessarily do that. So maybe the blue moon was here before the one that we have now. Go research on that too. I think you can find it. I'm not done with the research on that one because that is an interesting concept. And he also talked about the time of the sun and before the time of the moon. So, and then the Colombian civilization of the Bukhara, Ayas, they talk about the time before the moon being in the heavens, and also several African tribes, and they have legends saying that the moon was brought here by two extraterrestrials, and they placed it in the heavens. The legends say, and they say that the names of the extraterrestrials were Wuwan and Mampanku. In fact, I got the name of those extraterrestrials from Johnny Enoch, because he on YouTube, he has a video that speaks very eloquent to that. So go and look at that video by Johnny Enoch, and that would be quite an education for you. And then we have, there's a guy named, they called him Theodorus. He says in one of his writings, the moon had appeared a little while before the war with which was fought by Hercules against the giants. And that there was much older writings also speak of this. So the war against the giants, that's another thing that you should research, because there's some very interesting writing on that. And I think this is something that will fascinate a lot of people, and some won't care, and that is perfectly all right. We're all on the different stages of mind development here. At least it fascinates me, and that's why I went and did a little digging on this and created this video. And I had fun doing it, and I have hoping that you have fun watching it. So if you liked what you heard tonight, please subscribe. And then we will be back to you next time with another video. And until then, be good to each other.